How do we know if an agency is good?
I've seen it all. I've seen mistakes. I've seen great relationship. I've seen complete failures. And I think proud to say that JetRockets is probably one of the better agencies. Agencies do get bad rap oftentimes. People go through some horror stories. And I can't even tell you how many times I've had people come to us from a prior experience with another agency. And they bring with them a code base of thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code of completely useless, unusable product. You know what? I don't want your money right now. That's literally what I said. Right now, we're working with 15 clients.
Wow, that's it?
That's it. And, we're doing quite well. Go to my website and pick anyone you want to talk to. You tell me who you want. I don't want to force on you the people that I know will give me the best reviews. Every single agency is going to screw up at some point, right? And so that's what you ask. You ask, okay, so what happened when things went wrong? And that is what really sets a great agency apart from a good one, is how do they respond when things go wrong?
I'm pretty blown away by your process, and I have to imagine that if someone comes across an agency that ticks all 5 boxes, they're going to be incredible. Hey everybody, today on How Do I, we're joined by Natalie Kaminski, CEO and co-founder of JetRockets, a software development agency with an impressive 99% project completion rate. Drawing from her 20 plus years of experience in web and mobile development, Natalie has built a global team of 65 plus professionals specializing in Ruby on Rails and custom software solutions. Born in Russia and raised across Ukraine and Israel before settling in the US, Natalie brings a unique multicultural perspective to business. Under her leadership, JetRockets has served clients from startups to enterprises like eBay, while pioneering a teal self-management approach to foster employee well-being. Today, Natalie shares her experience on a critical question for all of us businesses. How do we know if an agency is good or not? So Natalie, we're talking about knowing if an agency is good or not today. Tell me a bit about your experience with that.
Yes, thank you so much. Happy to be here. And I think the only thing that qualifies me to answer this question is the fact that I've been running an agency for the past 15 years. And prior to that, I've worked with agencies as sort of the client, on and off. So I've seen it all. I've seen mistakes. I've seen great relationship. I've seen complete failures. And I think, I'm proud to say that JetRockets is probably one of the better agencies, right? I mean, agencies do get bad rap oftentimes.
Yeah.
People go through some horror stories. I wrote the whole article about horror stories in agency world. And my goal, one of the many goals of JetRockets, is to change the narrative and to demonstrate that working with an agency can be very beneficial and that agencies can truly become your partner, not a vendor. And that's usually how I start, When looking for an agency, focus on looking for a partner, not a vendor.
Awesome. So then that's the question. How do I know if my agency is good or not?
So first of all, when you meet an agency or anyone you're considering hiring, you have to pay attention. Do they even ask questions, right? Do they ask the right questions? Are they what I call yes people or not? And by yes people, I mean, I'll give you a concrete example. A client comes to us and says, I have thought of building this platform that has to do, and then they list 10 different features and functions. And the typical agency response is, yes, absolutely, we can do all of that. And it is going to cost you $100,000 or whatever the number is. And that is a big red flag, in my opinion, because most of the time when you want to hire an agency, you may not have the necessary skill set, the necessary experience to actually know how to build the product.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The first question that you should be look out for from the agency is, okay, let's stop right there. What are you trying to accomplish? What is your business goal? What does your product do? What is the value you're trying to bring your clients? Let's not talk about, the bells and whistles. Let's not talk about the nitty-gritty details of your product. Let's focus on the one problem in hand. This is the problem. This is the solution I'm trying to build. And together, a good agency will guide you to creating that value using technology.
I like that. And especially because, what you said before about I am never an expert in the thing I want the agency to do. So I don't know if they're asking the right questions, and I don't know if they give me technical recommendations. I don't know if they're going to work or not. So you're saying step back and ask, they should be asking you the business objectives.
Absolutely. Focus on the why, not the how, not the what, right? I mean, think about going to an attorney and let's say you're going through divorce, right? And your goal is you're probably not going to an attorney and you're going to say, okay, this is how I want you to sue my ex-partner, right? These are the steps I want you to take. You're probably going to go and say, look, I'm looking for an amicable divorce, and I would also like to split our assets 50-50, if that is your goal, right? And then you allow your attorney to make the necessary steps to get you to that result.
That makes
So
sense.
in technology, again, and I'm focusing particularly on development firms, but I believe the same applies in marketing, in design, and any other agency, right? In search optimization, whatnot. What are your goals? And why do you think these goals are important to you and to your clients? That is also very important. Like, why do you think this platform should exist? What type of problem does it solve? And then working from there, a good agency is going to make the recommendations about what to do, and most importantly, when to do each step, right? So for example, we had a client recently who came to us with an excellent idea, right? But they wanted to implement AI sort of like right away because, saying that your platform is driven by AI is sexy nowadays. Like everybody wants that. Right. Well, guess what? I actually pushed back and I said, you know what? I don't want your money right now. That's literally what I said. And I said, let's scale the scope down. Let's only build the most important features for you to test drive your market. And then as you know that your clients are going to come, then we can continue to add these features that you think are important. Most of the time, right? Like take any platform out there. Most users, I'd say 80% of users use only about 20% of the features you have.
Okay.
That's
actually that's kind of surprising to me.
If the platform is being built from the founder's desires and not from the user's feedback.
Okay. That makes sense.
Right?
Yes, got it.
Yeah. So the founder thinks, oh, my users want all these bells and whistles. In reality, no, that's what the founder wants. That's not what the users want. And so a good agency is going to walk you through that process. A good agency is going to kind of ground you a bit and say, okay, before we're going to ship your rocket ship to Mars, let's build a scooter, get a couple of people on that scooter, and then ask them what they want. And having this approach will, help you save money. Having this approach will help you launch faster. You will learn whatever it is you are about to learn from your launch, right? Sometimes learning that nobody wants your product is the best possible lesson because it's going to save you time and money and further development.
That makes sense. The first thing is the agency should start asking you about your business objectives. And it almost sounds like the second thing is that they should build the minimum viable thing for you. And like the easiest path to get some value is what they should be thinking about next?
Absolutely. And the agency should be willing to push back. Like I said, you don't want yes people. We get yes people all the time. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've had people come to us from a prior experience with another agency, and they bring with them a code base of thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code of completely useless, unusable product. And I'm like, why is it such a heavy code base? Because, and it's not necessarily the agency's, like, I'd say it is the agency's fault because they shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
But it's almost like, well, the founder came to us with a big bag of money, right? They wanted to build the product. We gave them what they wanted, but it wasn't what they needed.
I see. And this is this must be the hard part though, right? Because the client comes to you and they want something, and they're probably unqualified to describe it to you, and then you have to somehow help them figure it out. How do you maybe this isn't on the same question, but like, how do you guys deal with that where someone says, I want this, and you're like, yeah, we really don't want to do that. Like, do people ever say like you're not the right fit because of that discussion?
We've had, yes, I'll give you a great example of that situation. But so first, I'll answer the question how. I mean, it does take experience, right? It does take a lot of experience, which we have plenty of, and but also it takes the constant why. I always encourage my founders who come to us to say, okay, imagine, even if they come with like sort of unlimited times and budget, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does.
Yeah.
I always say, okay, let's imagine that we only have 8 weeks to launch. That's it. Like that's all we have. In 8 weeks, you have a huge event during which you must launch your product. What are the must-have features that you cannot live without, that will not be able to demonstrate the value of your product? Focus just on those. So it's kind of exercises you can go through. My project managers are very well versed with to get the users to that core functionality. But an example, I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, we had somebody referred to us, a founder, who already had a platform built with a prior agency, and the platform was sort of like a wellness marketplace, where people could find wellness and like kind of healthcare and wellness providers. Mm-hmm. And the platform wasn't doing very well. It just like at all. She had very few users. It wasn't catching on, etc. And she came to us, and she figured through some ways, not sure how, that it was the design. It was the UX, the UI design that wasn't attracting users. So she wanted to completely revamp the look and feel of the platform. And so she came to us, she was referred to us, and she came to us and we did an audit of her platform. And I mean, frankly, yes, it wasn't ideal. Like, yes, there were things you could fix, but it also wasn't terrible, right? It was okay. And so we actually went to her and we said, look, we can take your money, and we can redesign your platform, and we can do a much better job, but we don't think that it's the right time for you to do that. I think you should invest into marketing. I think you should invest more into sort of a go-to-market strategy. So take this money and spend it elsewhere. And frankly, she was furious. She called back the person who had referred her to us, and she was like, why would you, they don't want to work with me, they pushed back on me, they didn't want to do this, etc. And it was what it was. 3 months later, she called me and she thanked me personally.
Makes sense. Yep. I've had similar things happen where I say, look, I'm not the right person to spend your money with right now. You should be doing X, Y, or Z, basically. Yeah. Yeah,
but it wasn't because we couldn't do the work. It was because we didn't feel right. We didn't feel that 100%. It was the right step for her. Again, we could certainly do it. We could make, and there would be plenty of other agencies that would have taken her money. But for me, like I mentioned before, I think a good agency is the agency that strives to be your partner, not a one-time vendor, right? And partnership is long-term. So I'm always thinking about your long-term success because, at the end of the day, it's a little bit selfish, right? If the client is successful, so am I.
Yeah, of course.
They'll end up spending more money with me down the road. So.
And tell their friends and all of that. Yeah,
absolutely. Exactly. But should we move on to the next point?
Sure, yeah.
All right, so the next point is transparent communication. And this is like what we're doing now, right? And being super open and transparent. And I think that is one thing that many agencies really fail at, is not having transparent communication, right? And that oftentimes starts with questions like, oh, so where is your team based? And they'll give you a weird, vague answer about, they'll come up with something. Or if you ask, can I meet some of my teammates? And they'll let you speak to a salesperson, or they'll let you speak to a project manager, and you never get to actually know your developers or designers or whoever. That happens quite often. I'm a big believer that, again, part of everything should be transparent, from kind of, from who your team is, where your team is located, what the names are, etc. Get them on the same Zoom, make sure people know each other, etc. But also in terms of updates, right? I always communicate to our clients ahead of time that working together is going to be time consuming for them as well.
Interesting. Because, okay.
Right? It's not just give me your PRD, a product requirement document, and go away and come back in 3 months and get something you didn't ask for. It's right. I want the client, I want the founder in the room with us, literally. I want them to have at least, I always say, you have to be present on our calls at least once a week. That's the minimum requirements. That's sort of when we sign the contract, that's part of our contract. We have to deliver, but you also have to deliver to us. And you're going to deliver your presence, your communication, your feedback. You have to provide timely feedback. Again, hiring, and my analogy here would be building a house. If you build a house, you probably, yes, you're not going to build it using your own hands, but you're probably going to visit the construction site quite often.
I think I would. Yeah, I haven't done that
yet. Because ultimately it's your house that's being built, right? And as much as you trust the people, you still are the one who has the vision. You are still the one who knows exactly what they want. You are still the one to help make decisions at crucial decision points. And clients have to understand that. And I've had situations where a project would be postponed. You know, like I'd have a conversation with the potential client, and I'd be very honest, and I'd say, look, you'd have to dedicate at least, 4 hours a week to working with us. And the client said, oh, I don't think it's doable for me right now. And then that was fine. And I'd be like, that's okay. Come back when you are. And they did come back, and, it was fine. But you have to be honest. You have to be upfront.
The one thing I want to come back to, which is the team member thing, but this too, what do you do if someone isn't putting in the time that they said they would put in? So let's say probably you're okay if they miss one weekly meeting here and there.
Sure.
Okay. But what if they miss like 3 in a row? What do you do?
It's a problem, right? And what we do, so, all my project managers know, is constant communication. So we over-communicate, right? The communication happens through Slack, communication happens through emails, everything. A lot of, like meeting summaries, progress updates, reports get kind of duplicated through both emails and Slack. And at some point, if the client becomes unresponsive and completes, misses everything, we put the project on hold. We go on pause. We communicate to the client that, listen, at this stage, we're going on pause because we feel like, ultimately, here's what's going to happen. The client may be busy. They may say, oh, yes, we trust you, just go and do things without us. At the end of the day, they're not going to be happy with something, and it's going to be our fault.
Yeah, that's true. So you'll pause, and does
We'll
pause
pause.
mean pause the billing, pause
Everything.
the development? Wow, interesting.
Yeah, we pause.
And okay, so then back to the teammate. So you'll let them meet developers before they start with you?
100%.
I feel like you have an extreme willingness to not take people's money. Do you know what I mean? No. But it seems so. Like you'll tell them what's wrong with their idea. You'll tell them to not spend this much money first, but build the MVP. You'll tell them, yeah, if you're too busy, like I feel like you're just willing to just not take people's money.
Well, what I feel like is that throughout the years, again, been doing this for 15 years, I've learned the types of clients that I want to work with. Because they result in success for all of us. They turn into successful businesses that continue to work with us throughout the years. I have clients that've been with us for over 5 years, right?
Great.
As an agency. I have clients who've been our first client is actually, our first big client is still with us. It's been 9 years now.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And that is the type of clients I'm after. That is the type of relationship, like I keep coming back to this word partnership. That is the type of relationship I'm after. I'm after partnership, right? Yes, I am willing to bypass on certain clients that don't meet that criteria, but I would also argue that I'm doing those people a favor because they will likely fail.
Yeah.
They will spend a lot of money with another agency, but their business will ultimately likely fail because they're not willing to think strategically, they're not willing to take small steps, they're not willing to participate actively, they're wanting somebody else to do the work for them. So I'm not afraid to say no to, don't bring me your money right now, because I'm playing the long game. I'm in this business because I truly enjoy what I do, and that's what allows me to know what not to do.
Okay.
But yes, it's very unlike many other agencies you hear about. But that is exactly why you hear so many horror stories, right? That is exactly why the agency reputation is typically so bad.
That makes sense. Yeah, I feel like, there's something, this is interesting. The through line here for me is like you seem to care less about the money, or at least in the short term, and then like more about what is the highest chance of them being successful?
Absolutely.
And you as your agency, like what is the best chance that both my client and I will like get exactly what they want, which is probably presumably fees and success and all of this for both of you? Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Well, this allows me to also, there's an extension of benefits to that, right? So many agencies are like high volume agencies who require, they need to sell 1,000 clients a year. Just throwing a number out there to stay in business, and they still barely make money. That's it. And we're doing quite well.
Wow, cool.
And again, and yes, we're growing, and I want to grow. Yes, ultimately, of course, I want to grow. But I don't need 1,000 new clients. Maybe I need 5 more this year. You know what I mean? Which allows me to also focus on the business, not so much like running around doing sales and constantly kind of thinking from, kind of moving from one project to the next, etc. It creates continuity. It helps tremendously with retaining the talent, because my talent works pretty much like in a product company. There is very low turnover. People get really familiar with the products and the projects they're building.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a benefit from all different ends. Yeah.
So are you pretty selective about who you work with then?
Well, like I said, it has to be a good, solid idea. A person has to be willing to think strategically and focus on the business. And they have to also, be present. They have to be part of the process, yes. Relevant case studies. Make sure that the agency you're choosing has done something that would be relevant. And when I say relevant, doesn't necessarily mean similar or identical, right? Like we are, JetRockets is an industry agnostic agency, so we don't just focus on one particular niche. Like it's not like healthcare or fintech, etc. We have clients in a wide range of industries, and we have done a lot of different flavors of different types of products, right? So that means that every once in a while we get a client who wants to build something completely new that has never been done before by us, at least, or maybe by some, and so what does it mean? They're asking me, oh, have you built something like this in the past? And I wouldn't be lying to them. I'm not going to say, oh yes, I have, if I haven't, but there's always some relevancy in some other work that I've done, right? So for example, I have a prospect right now. We're working through building sort of like a very specialized community / marketplace for, let's say, dental professionals, like very niche, very unique. Have I ever done something like this before? No. But we do have several examples of other marketplaces and communities that we've built. And I'm going to use those examples in my explanation of kind of like what we did and why we approached it in a certain way. So my advice to anyone looking for an agency is always ask for relevance. Like, not necessarily have you done something like this? And I'll tell you more. I think sometimes when you're looking to build something like very similar or like identical to what the person has done before, an agency may fall into this trap of replicating their old work.
Yeah.
And that is not what you want as a standalone, unique business, right? You want fresh thinking.
Yes.
You want ideas that have not been generated by your competitor or, somebody like that.
Makes sense.
Yes, you want that expertise. You want that knowledge base. But you also want some fresh thinking. So paying attention to sort of like real examples that match your goals is very important.
So how similar do you think the case study has to be? Like, let's say, for example, let's say I wanted you to, I'm a financial, so I'm a CFO, right? And I have like an app for reporting or QuickBooks, this or that. If I wanted to work with you, must you have built a QuickBooks focused app for a CFO? Is that how similar it needs to be?
I think no. What I would tell you is we've built at least 3 different fintech related products, and I would tell you about them. And I'd say, okay, we've built a product that was, like a portfolio management product for fund administrators, like a company that, worked with different hedge funds, fund of funds, etc. And we've built a whole like enterprise level management platform for them. To be able to pull in client information, run several reports, several kinds of reports, produce investor statements, etc., which demonstrates to you that I have the industry knowledge that is very relevant to what you're. I'm going to also tell you separately that I have built platforms that integrated with QuickBooks. So I am familiar with QuickBook integration. I may not have built your particular product, but I have built various pieces of it.
How would you think about the similarity and the overlap? Like, and I know you can't answer, if I ask you what percentage overlap should there be, that's the question we can't answer. But let's say we're talking to a marketing agency, or like, do they have to have worked in the same, like supplements, selling supplements, or is it more related to like the ideal client profile of the customer, or is it the bigger building blocks like QuickBooks or?
I think it's a little bit of everything, right? It's sort of the ability to demonstrate and the willingness to learn something new, right? Because remember, my first point was ask the business, ask the why, ask the value.
Yeah.
So whenever we're building something that is niche, the first thing I would want to do is to understand your industry. Like I want my project managers to understand the financial industry. Like what is a CFO? What do you do? I would want them to know that. I would even go as far as asking you as a client, hey, can you recommend a few, I don't know, resources, websites that I could share with my team so that they can, kind of like, I don't know, CFO for dummies or whatever.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But like, high level understanding, right? So like demonstrate that ability to want to learn, right? And that can be demonstrated to relevant use cases, right? Yeah, so I think it's a little bit of both. Like in the example with the supplements, you said, okay, so maybe I'd say, oh, well, we do have a retail experience, like building a product that's like consumer-based, like a retail product. So we understand the sort of the psychology of how users work, so we can work on proper UX, UI. So it doesn't have to be identical, but it has to be relevant.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It's like adjacent.
So let me give you an idea. Yes, maybe I'll give you an example from the other side. Let's say you wanted to build a consumer-facing product and the agency had only done B2B platforms.
Okay, yeah.
Then maybe that would be a little bit of a risk because they'll approach it from a very different angle.
Yep. So there's probably some big, maybe call them non-negotiables. And so, okay, so what would you say, so you mentioned B2B, B2C, if they had to have worked on whatever
I was recommended a number of different agencies, and I would, immediately disqualify any agencies that did not have experience working with companies that are in B2B technology sector.
That makes sense, okay.
Because it's very unique. Now, do I want them to have experience particularly with companies like JetRockets? Not necessarily. But I want to know that they were able to successfully, build campaigns or help with SEO that is for B2B clientele.
Okay, that makes sense. So I feel like the non-negotiable is probably the end customer. There has to be some overlap in who they've worked for on an end customer basis. So in your case, B2B tech, if they'd only done B2C or whatever, professional services, maybe that doesn't make sense. And for me, like someone would have, like if I was going to work with SEO, they probably need to have done B2B, but business owners, not like middle managers and things like that. So there probably has to be some overlap on end customer.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. And otherwise, other things have to be true, like business focused, transparent, and whatnot. And then this, you can give some wiggle room except for some non-negotiables. Okay, cool. Yep, that makes sense.
Okay, moving on to my next point is no over-promising. Again, it kind of goes back to the
It's so hard.
man, like you go to an agency, it's like, yeah, we're going to build this. It's going to be ready in 2 weeks, and it's going to cost you $10,000. Like all the dreams are going to come true. It's like, no. That's like, let's be realistic. That's why I think, again, it kind of goes hand in hand with transparency. You as a potential buyer should also be transparent and open with your agency because, if the agency asks you, hey, what's your budget? That is not, most of the time, that is not the reason to sell you your entire budget. That is the reason to understand what we're working with because in technology particularly, there are different things that could be accomplished within different pricing points, right? Like if somebody comes to me and says, okay, I have $50,000 and that's my ceiling, but I want to build this platform that otherwise would cost $250,000. My immediate response would be like, okay, are you willing to compromise on scope? Right? Like if that's all you have, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say this is not realistic. Like what you're looking to build and what you have, and then like the amount of budget you have, they're not, there's no match.
Yeah.
So, but I can offer you a solution that might be a good solution for your budget that will allow you to then maybe fundraise or, prove your market and then kind of get to the next step. And that is why it's super important to be honest and open and transparent on both sides of this conversation. Because if a client comes to an agency and says, well, give me a proposal, and my question is, can you give me an idea of your budget? And the client goes, well, no, I want you to tell me how much it will cost because like I don't want to reveal my cards.
Yeah.
That is not a serious conversation. We're wasting each other's money and time. Right? And because again, I can come up with various solutions given your budget. And that would be important, right? And in terms of just like set realistic expectations. If as a client you feel like what your agency is promising sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Well, so that was my question actually, is how do you know if they're overpromising, if someone's overpromising?
Well, a very good idea always is when you're shopping around, kind of, et cetera, like to do your due diligence and see how the agency fares across everybody else. I'll give you an example. One client came to us a few years ago, and I think she was interviewing maybe 3 or 4 other agencies at the same time. We were the most expensive ones, but not by much. Like, I don't know, maybe like 100 versus 90. And again, like not a huge difference.
Sure.
And then there was like a super cheap agency, like 20, right? And then a few were like in between. So she decided to hire us. I'm very glad she did. We have a wonderful relationship. Yes. But many people, I won't tell you how many people, are going to hire the cheapest possible option.
Okay.
And what people fail to understand is if the gap is so big between your like highest bid and the lowest bid, then the chances are that the lowest bid company misunderstands, like doesn't understand the goal of your project. Because people can argue, well, because they charge less, maybe because they outsource. Like, okay, you know, I'm happy I'm willing to have this conversation. I'm going to give you an example. I mean, to run a successful agency, and you're a CFO, right? So, like, what's the margin that you need to survive as an agency? Survive, not thrive.
Oh, I would wager 50%.
50, precisely. You got to have at least 50% because, I mean, there's overhead, there's like, I mean, you know, right? So 50%. So let's say you are, you know, you're being proposed a solution that charges, I don't know, $30 an hour. So how much are they paying their developers?
Less than 15 because there's other costs in their margin. Yeah.
Can you imagine hiring a high professional, like a good,
That's a great point. Yeah.
strong professional for $15 an hour in any profession nowadays?
Well, what if you go to India or Philippines? Or
Even if you go to India or Philippines,
Yeah. Okay.
who is going to work for $15 an hour?
Well,
Like
I don't know.
seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, some people will, but are they good?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It doesn't matter. Like, you know, COVID was a great equalizer in terms of rates. Because so many people have moved around the world. People from the US moved to Philippines, and like vice versa, right? So COVID, like maybe prior to COVID, that could have been the case because, like, you know, people in India were okay with like $5 an hour. Again, no longer the case. And it shouldn't be, but yes, you still get the agencies that charge, I don't know, 60, and you still has those that charge 200, 300, right? So, but definitely no longer, 30 is a value, like is a valid number.
Okay, so another thing about choosing an agency is overpromising. And really you're saying the only way to know is if you interview X number of other agencies. What's that number for you that makes sense? 3, 5?
I think between 3 and 5, I at least 3.
Minimum 3?
No
yeah.
more than 5, really.
More
It's
than five.
then it's
Okay.
like, yeah,
Too much
4.
time.
4 is a magic
And
number.
so then you're going to end up with a range of proposals. Someone's going to be the cheapest. Someone's going to be the most expensive. You were the most expensive in this one that you ran,
Yeah.
but people don't all typically pick the most expensive, do they? Or what are you
Some.
finding? And how did you know you were the most expensive?
We were the most expensive, but again, not by much, right? So
Oh, okay.
it was like, again, the difference was less than maybe about 10%.
Oh, got it. Okay,
Right?
okay. So there was a cluster at the top.
Yeah,
There was,
sort
and
of
then there was
cluster
some.
top,
Okay,
like,
I see.
yeah.
I understand. So we've heard before you shouldn't pick the cheapest.
No.
And then I guess so you have to assess the agencies in that group of 5 for the other points that you've talked about.
Yes.
The why, the transparency.
Yes.
The other, what were the other points again? I'm going to make a notebook for my next time I have a
Case
conversation.
study, relevant
Relevant case
experience.
study. Yeah.
Yep.
And so then if they're matching on all those points, then you have to figure out, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you always have to meet multiple people. Okay. Yeah, that
And
makes
then the
sense.
next thing you should do is actually ask them for references. And here's my kind of
Okay,
advice.
okay. People hate this, right? On
I
the
know.
agency.
And so
Yeah.
here's my advice. You're going to ask them for references, and they're going to give you, I don't know, two, three people that they know are going to give them amazing feedback.
Yeah, well, yes, of course, yeah.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to
Uh-huh.
say, actually, can you give me three more?
Oh, shit. And you do that too?
All of my clients are listed in my, like, on my website.
Mm-hmm.
We also advertise with JetRockets. And here's what I do. I say to my potential clients, I say, go to my website and pick anyone you want to talk to. You tell me who you
Wow,
want.
that's
I don't want
badass.
I don't want to like force on you the people that I know will give me the best reviews. You tell me who you want to talk to. I know.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, in a good way, though, like almost nobody would do that.
Yeah.
Holy moly. I mean, I don't know that I would
I'm
want to
that
do that either.
confident, and that's what makes a good agency. A good agency, like
Yeah.
I am confident that all of my clients will give us great reviews. Now, when I say great reviews, it doesn't mean we've never made mistakes because that's my next
Of
point.
course.
That is my next point. When you're going to
Mm-hmm.
contact those people, the first questions you should ask, not like, oh, were you happy with the agent? The first questions you should ask as a potential client is tell me about a time when things did not go well and how did they respond? What did they do to fix it? Because the truth of the matter, things will go south at some point of this relationship. And when I say go south, it can mean many different things, right? I mean, there could be technical issues, there could be bugs, there could be, I don't know, delivery issues. Like things happen. I mean, when
Mm-hmm.
people tell you we've never made a mistake, they're lying to you. Every single agency is going to screw up at some point. And
Completely.
so that's what you ask. You ask, okay, so what happened when things went wrong? And that is what really sets a great agency apart from a good one, is how do they respond when things go wrong? And like I said, there could be a myriad of different reasons. Like it could be things could have gone wrong because like in your earlier example, you said the client had disappeared, right? It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be the agency's fault. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. And that's another thing. When you work with an agency, there is no such thing as fault. You work together, you are partners, you're working on delivering a product together. When something goes wrong, you should fix it together. And sometimes it means, I don't know, doing like a quick swap on people. Like personalities sometimes clash. It happens. We're all humans,
Totally.
right? Like bugs can be introduced. Like we had a situation, and you know what? I'm that confident. I'm going to share. We had a situation when one of my developers really made a big mistake, and lost the client's database for about 15 minutes.
Oh man.
It was really bad,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we have recovered because we have processes and operational processes in place. It was like 8 p.m. New York City time, time. Like we solved the problem within 15 minutes, but it was very scary 15 minutes.
I know the feeling. I deleted someone's SQL database
And it
5
happened.
times. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
happened. And, by that time, thank God, we've had enough what I call karma points with our client for the client to like give us the space and the time to bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? We've learned from that, and it has never happened again, and it will never happen again because
But
we know
you also fixed their problem back to
yeah,
as if
of
it
course,
didn't
we
happen.
fixed
Yeah, okay.
everything. We understood what happened, and we've made sure that the same situation will never occur again on any other project.
I just looked at the clock. We only have 5 minutes left. Did you have more points?
Well, I can talk about this forever, as you can tell, but no, I think I'm just going to finish with sort of, like a final line and say that,
Yeah, please,
in
yeah.
terms of development, a good agency is going to build your product, and a great one will really feel like an extension of your team.
Amazing. I like that. So I'm gonna summarize the points for sure, like in the notes and everything like that, and I'll make that pretty succinct for people to follow along. I'm like pretty blown away by your process, and I have to imagine that if someone comes across an agency that ticks all 5 boxes, they're going to be incredible. But it's probably hard to find agencies that tick all those boxes, especially the one that freaks me out the most, which is pick any logo and talk. You can talk to anybody you want, right? Like that's pretty badass. But if someone's willing to do it and ticks all those boxes, they have to be incredible. So, I mean, this is fantastic. Well, so where do people find you if they want to meet you, if they want to talk to you about development?
Yeah, so my website is JetRockets.com. You can find me at Natalie@JetRockets.com or find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Again, it's Natalie Kaminski, and maybe you'll link to it as well.
Oh, 100% will link to it.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. I just want to make a point that there are more good agencies that you think out there. I've met more than one agency that operates in a similar manner. I think there are a lot of good agencies out there who really want to do a good work. So clients just have to take time and find them. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This was incredible. Thank you for coming. This was so cool. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.